Guys, don't fight. Let's save it for the last 6 matches of Group Yellow. Once you guys fist bump and just start getting ready, because this is the final day of Group Yellow. We'll be finding out which top 3 teams will be going to the Grand Finals in London, which 8 teams will be going to survival stage, and which 5 teams will be getting sent home. Stay tuned and find out, because the final day for Group Yellow starts now.
I like how Seven thinks that if they got in a fight, Hoxie and Kitsune, he could be the one to break it up. Let's be honest, Seven, just one swing, one breath of air towards your way, and I think you're hitting the deck. And, well, at least for you not to fall too far. But speaking of falling too far, we've had some teams fall out of top 3, while others are struggling to ever break through into it. We got Hot Drakes, we got Maxman here to break it all down yesterday, and, of course, get you ready for what's coming today. And Max, I think, and Hot Drakes, I think the story of yesterday was just all South Korea.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, by a long shot. I mean, we were just talking right before the show started, just talking about like Alpha 7, just how well they did. I mean, they put up some good, solid points yesterday. But when you got teams from South Korea performing so absolutely out of their minds, I mean, what can you do?
I mean, what can you do when Diorix gets a 2nd place, then a chicken dinner with 14 limbs, and then another chicken dinner with 8 limbs? It's like, what the hell are you supposed to do at that point? And then, of course, Mira and Sejong still in 1st place, just chilling, realistically. And the thing is, right, looking at those teams, do we expect one of those teams from South Korea to not make in top 3, Hot Jukes? As of right now, for me personally, one of them has to make it into the Grand Finals.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, one of them definitely is. I mean, we could see both of them. I mean, that's for sure. But I mean, as we're looking at the leaderboard right now, it's possible. I mean, like, it's definitely possible. You got Miran Sejong up on top. You got Major Pride with 150 points. DRX, man, what a crazy day they had yesterday. So I was looking at some of the stats that we saw. Day 1, right? They had 16 eliminations, 8 placement points, 25 points in total, right? But yesterday, they had 38 eliminations, 28 placement points, 66 points in total. That's triple their performance from day 1. And I mean, what can you do against that? I mean, a 66-point day, that's 10 average points a game plus.
Yeah, I thought Max was gonna like chime in with the exact
too many
number
numbers, Jason. I'm like, oh.
Max and math don't seem to work too well. I do want to bring this up really quickly because I spotted some info that was posted in the Liquipedia Discord server for PUBG Mobile, and the guy Kaneki actually brought this to my attention that every year that PMGC has been using this group stage format with 3 different groups, Group Yellow has had a tie for 3rd and 4th place, and it was decided by chicken dinners. In 2022, it was Train to Kill up against Reject at 214 points. In 2023, is WBG up against BTR at 173 points. So right now, we're in Group Yellow. Could we see this for a 3rd time? Could Group Yellow technically be cursed? I know we're past Halloween, but it can still be a little bit spooky here.
They call it Group Maxman in some places in the world.
Oh my gosh.
But I think there's a very high chance of that happening, Jason, because guess what? Between 1st and 5th place, there's 18-point difference right now. That's one game right now between top 1 and top 5. So realistically, down to the last game, we could have a tiebreaker or a 1-2-point difference to make it into the Grand Finals. And if you're unlucky enough to lose that tiebreaker, well, you're going to survival stage. And from how things are going right now, Jason, I would not want to be in survival stage, because that is going to be ruthless over there to make it into the Grand Finals.
Having a world where you could be playing against Alpha 7 and VPE, D Xavier, among others, even DRX, to try to qualify. That's survival stage. That's not even last chance as well. And then you still have to fight through other teams in last chance. But you guys at home who are watching, the Infinix GT20 Pro is the device all the players are going to be using here at the event, and they were using back at PMW. So you guys can pick up one for yourself and play like the pros with 120 FPS and 144 hertz AMOLED screen. Max, you and I have one. We love it. Even though the first time we did play a game of Pogi Mogi on it, you did die very quickly. But I didn't. So clearly it's been helping my gameplay. Not to mention as well, you guys make sure to follow PUBG Mobile Esports over on all the socials, whether it is YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram. Make sure you check it out. And while you're doing that, make sure you also think about coming to the PMGC Grand Finals over in the UK. We still have tickets available. You can pick up from the 6th to the 8th, and you get yourself some extra goodies while you're there, not to mention some activities and even some draws in-game for some 2024 PMGC skins. But gentlemen, as we obviously turn our attention towards what's coming up today on our final day of Group Yellow, there's a lot of questions out there, and there's a lot of different things we could discuss. There's the battle for top 3 of who can potentially break through and make it to the Grand Finals. There's a battle of who can make it into top 11. And then there's also a battle kind of in the middle of the pack of well, we can't really fall out of top 11, but if we want to make top 3, we have to make a massive play. So I'm kind of curious to see how all teams approach this. That's why I kind of put these teams as my teams to focus, because they are kind of the bubble with Major Pride, DRX, and Alpha 7. Yes, Major Pride is technically in at the moment with 3rd place, but you sure as hell know DRX and Alpha 7 are looking for that spot.
Yeah, they're going to be trying their best to breach it up here for sure. I mean, my teams I picked here...
breach the spot right now.
Right
Get
now.
that DBS out.
I'll get it out right now. That's going to be a breach and a half. But I'm looking at 3 teams in particular here. Mirror and Sejong to maybe hold down that 1st place, which is cool.
Okay.
But really here, Hot Jukes, you want to focus more on the top 3. And Vampire Esport, to me, Jukes, have such a good chance to make it up there. The thing is, we mentioned it a bit yesterday and early on Pandemonium, Jason, also. The Vampire, they all have these huge chicken dinners with like 10 plus eliminations, or they get 1-2 points in their matches. I want to see Vampire be more consistent, and if they can get some more points on their bad games, really, top 3 is going to be achievable for them. But they got to start doing that pretty much in the first game, because they are out of that top 5. They're in 6th position, so they need to close that gap ASAP.
That's going to be a tough gap to close. I mean, how are you going to close it whenever you got teams like DRX putting up more than 60 points in a day? I mean, that's going to be really tough here. But it is the last day. Everything's going to start changing up here. We're going to start seeing differences in strategy. We're going to start seeing some desperation from a lot of these mid-pack teams. And that's why my 3 teams I picked was, I picked Alpha 7, Vampire, DXavier. DRX, they're only 2 points below, right? So in my opinion, they're basically already kind of in that top 3. One game, we're going to see that change up, right? But when it comes to Alpha 7, Vampire, and DXavier, especially for Vampire and DXavier, right? They need, like you mentioned, Max, a crazy pop-off game right off the rip, and Sandhawk. And, when it comes to Sandhawk, Jason, Major Pride, right? Major Pride, they've won 2 of them already. They didn't win the 3rd, but they went for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, they went for it. I think if you're talking about Vampire, we also have to think about yesterday, where Vampire was the team to actually win out when it came to Sandhawk. And they did it with just 2 players left alive, if I'm not mistaken. And they were able to defend the push out of Mir and Sejong, and then able to just stay alive long enough towards the very end to close things out. So if they want to have a strong start,
the changes that we saw out of
be the perfect
Bigatron
way to do
Knights
so.
yesterday with Suxy and Genfos sitting out, today for the final day of Group Yellow, they're going to be having them back playing. So Suxy and Genfos are back in the squad.
All right.
Let's go. Zuxi Genfos
Okay.
back on the board. I like that, to be honest. We
Bring
need
'em back.
we need the day 1 strat coming in, Jukes, again, because they made a big adaptation, and we had that interview with Kitsune yesterday, right? Talking about making changes really in a tournament like this is going to hurt you long term. I think that BTR had the most amount of success in day 1. Reverting back to that roster, for me, is the best decision at this point in time.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about this before the show, and I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they perform better. You only have really 1 day to try to do it here. I mean, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one because, I mean, at this point, they're going to be in that survival stage, right? So if that's the case, you want to make sure you're prepping your team as much as possible because, like you mentioned, Jason, right? There's a big possibility we're going to see some big heavy hitters there in the survival stage.
I mean, what the hell? That scares the crap out of me. The fact that you have Alpha 7 VP, DXavier potentially going to survival stage. Like, they were my top 3, man. What happened? Like,
Right?
This is crazy that we could see. Like, the winners of PMWC, DXavier, who had a ridiculous performance at PMGC last year, potentially have to try to qualify through the survival stage and last chance. I mean, I don't want to know what's going to happen with these other groups as well. Just imagine we have the likes of your Falcons in there, Max, going through, your Navis, 4MV. Imagine if they go to survival stage. Like, the survival stage might be more difficult than like some of the other stages in this tournament at that rate.
I'm going to ask PMGC, how many sick days can I have? I'm sorry, I got a cold. I can't really play survival stage. Sorry. But it's going to be tough.
Perfectly named.
Yeah. It will be the real
literally
group of death hot jukes who's going to be survival stage, I think, yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, you couldn't name it better because that's what it's going to be. Just straight trying to survive here. And, I'm glad to see, as we look at this Bigatron roster right here, them bring back the good old Zuxi because at the end of the day, I mean, they performed really well. But looking at the comparison, because I was really looking at their gameplay, right? They were playing so careful with this other roster that they had, that 2 roster swap. So I want to see them just kind of play a little bit extra aggressive here, especially in that macro, and prepare for that survival stage the best they can.
I mean, I have to kind of worry our other team is going to start being aggressive. Bigatron, they are the bubble right now. They have to also keep in mind, could we potentially be hot dropped here at some point for other teams trying to make their way through?
That's a good point.
I mean, you want Bigatron to be more aggressive. I'm a little bit scared if they get more aggressive, then they potentially just die early, and then that would probably be the worst case scenario for them. But honestly, there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of avenues they could adjust their strategy here. They just have to focus on passing some of these teams. I mean, you got Loop 7 points ahead of them. You got Inco right above that at another 2 points ahead.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough, but you know what? I trust in Zuxi. This man, he's made to so many PMGCs. He's been at the top of the table for such a long time when it comes to PUBG Mobile. I can't doubt them.
There's going to be so much pressure on their shoulders here, Jason, for BTR. But you know what? We can believe they're in 11th place. There's going to be a lot of pressure here, and the bottom teams are going to be desperate. So they are going to be a team trying to go for those big games.
And one thing we know about pressure, it makes diamonds. Let's head over to Sandhawk here with our first match of the day with Johnny A and Blanky B.
I don't know whether... Okay, Blanky B. He comes up with a different name for us every single time, Blank. I'm beginning to think I'm going to get, a little bit too confused. I'm not going to know who I am, because it seems like we're trying to carve out identities for our teams here into the top 3 as we kick off our final day of Group Yellow.
Yeah, not sure about Blanky B. I certainly can't sing. Okay, so let's not give me that name. I don't think I deserve that name. But yeah, we're heading down towards the south side of the map here on Sandhawk. But it is the final day today, guys, of Group Yellow. 5 teams will be going home. 4 through 11 will be heading through to that survival stage. And the top 3 will secure themselves a chance to perform in those Grand Finals.
That is what it is all about. The top 5 so hotly contested as we're jumping on through. Everybody finding ground now. No one getting too close. Maybe McGrellin over on the east side for Alpha 7, but no, he's just going to divert. 3 teams on the northwest side there. Blank, BTR, Zeus as well. Up on that northwest mountain. Vampire up towards Hartin. RSG again south of Team Spirit. The circle will dictate how the center of the map falls, because when the circle goes northwest, when it goes west, RSG, they get out of there fast. But if not, then Team Spirit has a problem. And this might be the case here. If they can get out of boot camp, they might have a better chance of transitioning away, but DXavier like to make that hard.
We had 4 very different circles here overall on Sandhawk, and it has been very much a case that we've had some crazy circles that, if you remember, even just recently over towards that western side of the map, heading over towards the north, where vampires were the only one on that northwest island because everyone assumed it was heading down towards ruins. But here we're heading over towards that eastern side. Muerte starting off with a good position, currently in 14th place. They desperately need themselves a good game here to get in towards 11th position and upwards, just so they can get it over towards that survival stage. Right now, Muerte is at risk of falling out. Now, Twisted Minds technically have placed themselves in a spot with a couple of their games where there's a chance for them, but it's a long run to catch up to BTR with 82 points.
Although if BTR do stagnate and have a similar performance to yesterday, obviously the roster changes coming back in, re-going with their first original starting roster, then maybe if they can break that stagnancy, they can accelerate away. But if they stay still, then that is a much easier target for Twisted Minds. But you're right, it's still a very, very long shot for them. Harame, bro, they are also in a similarly not great scenario towards the bottom of the tables, but it seems like we're always seeing them in these late games. They're just not getting big points out of it. They're always just that annoying pest on the sidelines who's making it tough for the teams at the top.
Yeah, I mean, the way they play is very survival based, and it's not how you win a tournament. I've said multiple times now during these group stages that you have to be on top in terms of placements and elims, and if you're not getting those placements, you need at least 5 elims in a match. And this is no offense to Harame, but the way that they've played is not to get in towards the survival stage. It's not to get in towards the top 3. It has literally been just to exist here in this tournament, which is unfortunate because I think that's why so many teams get caught off guard by them, because a lot of them assume, why would there be a team here? It's why they do find those pickoffs onto some of our most prominent teams inside this lobby, like Mirren Sejong, Team Spirit, the RX get caught out by them a fair few times, because why would they assume that one guy would be out in the grass or 2 guys would be playing that position for so long? They are so out of the loop in these games and don't have that much influence. The teams forget they exist.
Aramebro moving in from Painan now. Teams looking to shunt in towards Quarry. RSG, they left that south side of boot camp. They pushed in, and De Muerte, with their backs to the Quarry, are now penned in. DXavier didn't take a southward rotate towards Team Spirit, and in fact, Nomi was positioned out towards them. They were waiting for it. A little change that they brought into the mix, but Kitsune now potentially in danger here. A big scout, but he hasn't got the backup just yet. He's there alone, but DXavier, they're not crashing just yet. However, that could change. Taking shots, I mean, could potentially be a misslip there, but also could just be a statement to try and back DXavier off.
It absolutely is a statement. That is a case of trying to make DXavier think that there is a team inside this location. And Kitsune has to do this now, especially with a team rocking up like that. He knows the team's scouting this position. DXavier, they might have cottoned on a little bit. Their team is going to be rotating across, but this was a smart move from Kitsune. It was a risky move, but I think for Team Spirit, I don't mind it all that much. They can certainly make the points up later in the day, but this is still a risk. But it's a case of if they can get a big game here on Sandhawk,